Welcome to The Explainer. Today we are tackling a really critical choice that pretty much every growing software project has to make. How do you manage your database schema without everything descending into chaos? We're going to dive into the two heavyweights in the Java world, Flyway and Liquibase.
So let's start with a question that I bet hits home for a lot of you. Your application's getting bigger, you're adding features, it's getting more complex, and all of a sudden, your database starts to feel less like a solid foundation and more like, a ticking time bomb. This is a problem that every single successful project runs into eventually. To make sense of all this, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll dig into the problem itself. Then, we'll look at the right way to solve it. After that, we'll meet our two main contenders, Flyway and Liquibase. And finally, we'll wrap up by helping you figure out which one is the right fit for you.
Okay, let's dive right in. Because before we can really appreciate the solution, we have to get a feel for the stakes here. Getting database changes wrong, especially as you scale up, can be a really big deal.
You know, the source material is incredibly clear about this. You might have seen settings like Hibernate's DDL auto property. And look, it's fantastic for spinning up a project quickly. But using it for anything past that initial early development stage, you are frankly playing with fire. It's just too unpredictable, and it can lead to some truly catastrophic data loss. There has to be a better way, right?
Right, so if automatic updates are off the table, what is the professional approach? Well, it's about adopting a strategy that brings control, versioning, and predictability to all your database changes. And the answer is using dedicated database migration tools.
Just think about that for a second. You would never, ever dream of developing your application code without something like Git, right? A version control system is non-negotiable. Well, these tools apply that exact same logic to your database. They treat your schema, your database structure, as code. And that brings a whole new level of order and predictability to how it evolves.
And what's really cool is that these tools are not a one-trick pony. They solve a ton of problems all at once. They keep track of which changes have been applied so you don't run things twice. They let you automate database updates in your deployment pipeline. They make sure your dev, test, and production environments are all consistent. And they give your whole team a clear history of who changed what, when, and why.
And this brings us right to the heart of the matter, this fundamental choice. In the Java world, it really boils down to two tools with two very different ways of thinking. You've got Flyway, which is all about simplicity. It's like a recipe. You tell the database exactly what to do, step by step. And then you have Liquibase, which is all about power. It's more like describing the final dish to a master chef. You say what you want, and the chef figures out how to make it.
So let's talk about our first contender, Flyway. Its whole philosophy is built on this idea of a simple, super straightforward path. All it does is run plain old SQL scripts in a very predictable order.
At its core, Flyway's approach is what we call imperative. You, the developer, you just write normal SQL files. The magic? It's all in the file name. Flyway scans a folder, it sees the V for version, the number, the double underscore, and it knows exactly what order to run everything in. That's it. It's clean, it's simple. And this approach is just so direct and developer-friendly. I mean, if you know SQL, you already know 99% of what you need for Flyway. But, and there's always a but, that beautiful simplicity comes with some trade-offs. It can be a little rigid if you have complex needs. Rolling back a change means you have to manually write an undo script. And since you're writing raw SQL, your scripts are naturally tied to whatever database you're using, whether it's Postgres or MySQL. Okay, now let's look at the other path, Liquibase. This tool takes a totally different tack. It trades some of that instant simplicity for huge gain in power and long-term flexibility. With Liquibase, you really have to shift your thinking. This is a declarative approach. So instead of writing the exact create table command for, say, Postgres, you just describe what you want. You define your goal in an abstract format like XML or maybe YAML. Liquibase then takes that goal and translates it into the perfect optimized SQL for whatever database it's talking to at that moment. And this declarative method is what unlocks all of Liquibase's most powerful stuff. You can write one set of changes and run them against Oracle, and then SQL Server, and then PostgreSQL without changing a single line.
You can add tricky conditions like, hey, only run this change in the test environment. And maybe best of all, it can automatically figure out how to roll back a change for you. The price you pay for all that power? A bit of a steeper learning curve, and yeah, that XML can get a little wordy. So there we have it. Flyway for simplicity and being direct, Liquibase for flexibility and power. With these two really different philosophies in mind, how in the world do you actually pick the right one for your project?
This table really lays out the core trade-offs perfectly. The first big question is, how do you want to define your changes? Do you prefer Flyway's plain, simple SQL, or are you okay with Liquibase's abstract XML or YAML? Next up, think about rollbacks. Do you want that awesome automatic free support from Liquibase, or are you cool with Flyway's more manual approach? And finally, how critical is it that you can switch databases easily? The answers to these questions really drive the decision.
So let's just put it simply. Flyway is your champion when you value speed and simplicity above all else. It's perfect for brand new projects, for teams that just love writing raw SQL, and when your number one priority is to get up and running as fast as humanly possible with a clean, easy-to-follow history of changes.
On the other hand, you should be reaching for Liquibase when you know complexity is part of the deal. It is absolutely built for the messy reality of large enterprise applications. If you even think you might need to support multiple databases down the line, or if you need advanced features like conditional logic and automatic rollbacks, then that initial time you invest in learning Liquibase is going to pay off big time.
So, at the end of the day, there's no single best tool here. There really isn't. The right choice is so dependent on your project's needs right now, and maybe more importantly, where it's going. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. Are you just trying to solve today's problem, or are you preparing for the complexity your project might have a year or two from now? The answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know.